Cricket boards actually make watching their games almost impossible now. I spend almost as much time trying to find where I can view it as I do actually following the action. That is why I use NordVPN. They let me find all the cricket I want to watch while protecting me from the nasty side of the internet. Nord will free your cricket matches. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/good areas to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months on top. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Watch every match with NordVPN. Morning, everyone. Welcome to this show where I'm supposed to say things that make sense. But instead, I'm going to say that today at the Gabba, cricket went stupid. Gloriously stupid. Experimental theatre stupid. It did start with a Marnus freak catch, but then came England's first drop. Then came their many, many wide balls. Their wide outside off, their wide outside leg, their wide over your head balls that somehow managed to be too short at times and also not short enough at others. Australia were 36 for none and then 131 for one after 12 overs without actually really trying to attack, just by reaching the many wide balls. This was not a normal day of cricket. England wanted to see how many runs could be scored to third on a single day of play. England's short ball obsession had gone feral and was eating them. And they caught the ball like it had pins in it. And yet, through all of this, as bad as they played, England kept taking wickets. Bad deliveries, good results, stupid cricket, glorious theatre. Just don't be the person who has to explain it, because it was all so very stupid. Hey, Behram.
Hey, Jarrod. So, can we call this bad ball? Is
Hey!
that what you would term it, right? Because we saw some really weird stuff today, man. I mean, I woke up and I was like, are they basballing England? Like, what's happening over here? And then
I've
I
got a
watched
phrase
the
for
action
you.
and I'm like, yeah.
I wrote this down in the main piece. And I still don't know if this sentence makes any sense, but I'm not sure if anything did today. Did England do good baseball bowling, but bad bowling? And did Australia do good batting, but bad baseball batting?
That's interesting, because at one point I felt like Green and Smith could have really capitalized, and what they should have thought is, okay, we'll bat till like the end of the second session tomorrow. We'll get the afternoon session to bowl at England under lights, and we'll have like a 150-run lead by then as well. No! They wanted to attack all of a sudden after being well set, and yeah, it was like a weird role reversal. We saw that short ball barrage test at Lord's, was it? Was it the Lord's test?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, this was like a weaker version of that, if you could kind of put it that way. Because I mean, look, at one point they didn't even need to bowl bouncers anymore. And Australia, if they're continuing to bowl bouncers, you can sometimes not play at them, right? Like a lot of stuff could have been done differently, but ultimately you'd have to say it's Australia's day, because they ultimately they've gotten a 44-run lead. They were 378 for 6. So yeah, England, they dropped 5 catches. They only have themselves to blame.
It's just, there's so much to talk about. I mean, when they were playing, when Smith and Green started doing that, I was like, what are you doing? I think I sent a message to one of my group chats just going, there's a wicket due here, because they're not playing normal cricket. They're going out of their way to take risks here when they don't need to. You don't need to make Bryden Cast bowl a bad ball to you, Behram. You just need to stand there. He's going to bowl a bad ball to you every single time. He started every single spell bowling absolute dog shit. Why are you backing away to square leg? Just allow, for that to come to you. Yeah, I think Australia, if I could be wrong here, but I think that was the first time that they really went to the Wagner plans, right? The spaced out fields and everything. And I feel that Australia had a preset idea of what they were going to do if that happened, which absolutely in a normal part of the game, I get it. And it almost came off. Don't get me wrong. They weren't that far away from, they got 17 off Carter's first over. England looked panicked, but what you're saying is right. A friend of mine actually said it's almost more important if they get to lunch tomorrow, Australia, than they actually score any more runs. If they can get to lunch and make sure that England aren't set by lunch and have to come out and bat in the afternoon, and they've got like a 40-run lead. That's impossible. But let's say they had a 40-run lead. So that maybe would have been more important than getting quick runs when there was a chance that a bunch of your players would have to come in when the light wasn't there, right? Like it was a baffling display, and it could have been worse. The only reason it wasn't worse is because England come to Australia and we all talk about maybe they've got a chance this time. Maybe they've got a good team. Oh, they've got some experienced players. They've got this, they've got that and whatever. But we always forget that simple thing what happens when England comes to Australia. They don't bring their fucking hands with them. Right. It takes them like 3 tests to work out how to take a fucking catch in Australia every time they come.
Proper butterfingers today, right? And I mean, at one point I was thinking, okay, Australia were terrific in the field. They were like taking catches together and sticking their tongues down their throat at the same time. That was something completely different, right?
Australia were taking catches when they were actively trying to stop the other person taking catches.
Yeah, basically. And then there was also that run out that Josh Inglis forced. But
yeah.
I thought to myself, okay, they drop Head early on. Jamie Smith, not sure what sort of a day he was having, right? I'm thinking, okay, Head was dropped on 3. He scores 33. That's 30 runs. Sure, you could have gotten Marnus in early and that could have had a butterfly effect, but fine. Didn't cost them too much. Then when Alex Carey is dropped on 0 by Duckett, Smith falls right after, and I'm thinking, okay, Carey wouldn't have taken the single. Maybe Smith wouldn't have tried that shot. Yeah. So they've gotten Smith's wicket. Fine, right? Then when Inglis was dropped by Duckett in the slips, he was on 23, takes a double, gets out right after. I'm like, okay, they've dropped 3 catches and there hasn't been a lot of, damage done. And then England would like, hold my beer, Behram. We're going to make sure that the damage will be done. Cast drops Nisa. Pretty straightforward chance. And then that Alex Carey dropped towards the end, which Jamie Smith should have gone for, but Ruth tries to stick out his mitt and it hits his hand and goes for 4. I mean, Carey could have been out on 0, on 25, and he's batting on an unbeaten 46. He is the guy who scores clutch runs. What are you doing? You could have, ended the innings with a 30-run lead or deficit, but here we are.
I think to be fair, yeah, I think that the Head catch could have changed the entire game, right? Because I thought Atkinson and Jofra were bowling good. A little bit too short and a little bit too wide, but not as short and wide as they would bowl later. But I thought they were bowling well at that time. It would have been interesting to see what, Marnus would have had to come in against the brand new pink ball when it was, it was still doing a little bit and it was zipping around. Well, maybe not zipping around, but it was going quickly at that point. So I thought that one could have had, that could be, a massive change in what the game is. As you said, the majority of the rest of them actually don't really make any difference until kind of the Nisa Carey ones at the end, right? Yep. The Nisa one may not be the biggest thing in the world, but if Nisa adds another 15 runs and Carey adds 25 at the other end, that's a 40-run partnership to start tomorrow and takes time out of the day as well, right? Which we were just talking about. But the Carey one, which is a Smith drop, which will go down as a Root drop. If you're a first slip and you have to dive savagely to your right, Root just thought the wicketkeeper was going to take it because it was wicketkeeper's catch. And he was a little bit late on it. But even if he hadn't been late on it, that would have been a tough catch. But that was a mischance for Smith and a drop for Root, however you want to look at it. That's the one, isn't it? That's the one where you just like, okay. Now, things are very, very different at this point. And look, do you remember the last Ashes when they did the same thing? Do you remember that?
Yeah, in Australia?
Yeah, last one's in Australia, sorry. Where I did a whole piece on it. It'd be fascinating to bring it out. But I think they dropped like, I want to say 11 catches over 2 tests or something. And Australia hadn't dropped a catch at that stage. And I was trying to point out at the time that is a random event to have happened, right? Like, as in, it's random to drop that many catches. And it's also random for the other team not to drop a catch, right? And I think I might be making the numbers up, but I think that was roughly it. And so, yes, you could say Australia was a much better team. But what happens is the gap was widened, right? Yeah. And suddenly one team's got confidence and one doesn't. And once you don't have confidence in Australia, you might as well give up and go home, right? Like, it's really hard to bring that back, especially once you're down, a couple of tests as they were, right? And so it just feels to me, and that you can go back to the 90s as well, early 2000s. There are just times when England seem to come and they just don't take the catches. And 3 of those were absolute sitters, right? I would say that the Smith one, it's hard to know because he didn't move at all. We don't actually know how far it was from Smith. It felt very close to him. And the Duckett one that was sort of off to his right off Inglis, I thought was, you still expect a test player to take that, but it's not 100%, is it? It should be closer to 55 to 60%. I think a lot of people drop that catch, but it's still 3 really easy catches, and perhaps 4 depending on how you look at Smith's. Like, my God, it takes effort also, to be that bad, Behram.
It does. I mean, we always talk about drop catches a lot. I'm drop catches obsessed, and you mention each time that look, modern day cricket. you get more chances, and so you'll always have a couple of drop catches. But that's a couple of drop catches, not 5. England caught 3, they dropped 5. Okay?
Also, it's 5 in 73 overs.
Yes.
It's not 5 in 150 overs, is it? Like, they haven't got to the second new ball yet.
It is a ridiculous effort if you think about it. Like, I don't understand like what those players will be feeling, because they could have been on top. They actually did bounce back quite well, largely due to Australia's stupidity, because when you're only 3 down and you're coasting, why would you even want to take chances, right? They weren't really troubling the batters, England's bowlers, apart from like the part where they started targeting their thumbs. I was like, okay, they're out of ideas, so now let's target their thumbs, lads. You know?
No, you're 100%. I thought, Australia had every single player get to double figures, right? Like,
yeah.
Other than Head, who probably did get a ripper early on, and maybe Inglis, who got I know a lot of his runs to third were steered, but there was a couple of more edgy versions of that as well. Other than those two, I felt everyone else kind of started well, out before you get to Nisa. So of the top 7, I thought everyone started pretty well. Everyone looked pretty comfortable at different parts of their innings. Like, how many Australian players looked uncomfortable today? I wouldn't think there was any of them, right?
Not at the start. I don't think anyone was edgy at the start. And eventually you had these phases, because there was that spell in between where Stokes and Bryden Cast really started troubling the batters. But that was after they got the wickets too, right? Also, explain to me, Steve Smith, the amount of times he dabs the ball to the third man fence for 4. Keep a fielder there. The amount of balls that go through that vacant corridor at third slip. Keep a third slip. What was that obsession about?
So, I've done a whole piece on this before. And it's worth saying that the vast majority of times when your uncle says to you, oh, where's the third slip? Or why don't they have a third man? Right? They're wrong. And the reason they're wrong is what you're trying to do is keep 4 or 5 fielders in the ring to keep that pressure on. That pressure gets the edge, right? And then you can't have another fielder down to stop the edge, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's only so many fielders on the field. So if you want to keep Steve Smith on strike, you probably need, a mid-on and a mid-wicket. You probably need someone on the offside around point, maybe a cover, maybe a mid. You've got to find leg in, right? You're already running out of fielders to have attacking fielders or to have the third in place, right? I think everyone has to understand that. Today, if they were going to bowl short and wide all day, you just need a third in. Now, I would like to think it wasn't a plan, Behram, but being that I just saw 150 balls banged into the pitch outside off stump, I'm going to assume it was some kind of a plan. And we've seen them put third in for what? Travis Head before, right?
Yeah.
They didn't even do it for Travis Head for a while. I think they eventually put like a deep backward point in that chop out man, the Aaron Finch position. Maybe they did that. But for a long period of time, they didn't even do that, right? And so if you're going to keep bowling outside off stump, maybe you just need to do it. I would have just said, stop bowling short and wide shit. But that's just me. Then maybe you don't need a third.
But honestly, to Alex Carey, that plan was working and they didn't have any fielders in that position, right? I kept thinking to myself, pack the offside field behind the bat, because he's clearly going to give you an opportunity. I
actually don't really understand what the theory was to Carey. I think I said it on the group to you guys of, wait a minute, I get the short ball to the 2 guys who were set, but once they were bowling to Inglis, there was clearly something, whether it was something in the pitch or if it was probably more just the fact that it was hard to start at night with the pink ball. Just bowl at the top of off stump a little bit for a little while and see what happens. And, with Inglis, I thought they bowled really well and they had a good field. And then for Alex Carey, they were like, scatter. This is like, it was like Gilchrist came out in his pomp, right? They were just like, we couldn't possibly have anyone. And he almost got caught in a catching position and then he almost got caught at slip. Yeah. So twice behind offside, he actually gave possibilities to England. And yet their field was just sort of everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, some of those plans were weird. The one plan I did like, though, was when there was Ollie Pope behind the keeper on the boundary rope for that catch, which does come, but it's a 6 instead. And I was thinking, okay, Stokes is probably trying to manufacture a wicket over here. But then some of those field settings really didn't make sense, especially when you're doing the same thing to Inglis, but you're not doing the same thing to Carey, especially when he's offering you more opportunities versus the short ball. So lots of madness.
I think Carey's a bit flittery, isn't he? And he takes big risks. And maybe they were thinking he'll just give us a risk. But once he had hit that first ball to gully, I think I would have just said, okay, let's just bring in a ring for a minute. Maybe go at his body with a short ball, or just go back to the top of off and see how he's seeing them. I don't think they needed to do that, but you go through their plans all day, and it's just baffling how they came to all this. There were fascinating things about today too. Like the ball didn't go soft. The ball stayed really, really hard all the way through. Do you remember that period yesterday where Root and Stokes really struggled with that softer ball? That just we didn't see anything like that today. So it was like a very different day's Test cricket than yesterday, and yet the two teams have almost ended up in the same position.
Yeah, I feel like Bryden Cast epitomizes this day because he drops a catch, he takes 3 wickets out of 6 for England, and then also he goes for plenty, man. He was being taken apart, even by
Did Bryden Cast bowl well?
I don't know. He's the highest wicket
That's the best answer.
He's gone for so many runs that I don't know where to place him. I thought Stokesy at times was bowling well, and then absolute rubbish the other times, like full tosses outside off stump. They're just racing away to the third man fence.
I think his first ball was a full toss on the stumps. And I remember Travis Head didn't even hit it for 4 because he was so surprised that it was such a bad ball. When you're almost caught off guard of like, oh, I should have hit that for 4. How did I not do that? Yeah, so just to get back to Cast, he took 3 wickets, but let's just go through them for a moment here. He took 1 wicket with a length ball down the leg side that let's say, I don't know what the expected average on a ball like that is, but it's got to be in the hundreds because you can't get many wickets with that delivery. I'd have to go and check, with the Cricket Viz lads to be sure. But my guess is, Behram, that the expected average on that one was quite low, right? Then you had his second wicket was Green, where Green has already backed away twice, so Cast knows to be on the lookout for the backing away. But go back and have a look at what Green does. I mean, this just epitomizes how bad Australia was, and we can get into them in a moment. But he backs away early, right?
Yep.
And then he goes too far, and then he starts to fall over. Like, it was great work from Cast to work it out and bowl the good ball. Like, I'm all on side for Cast there. But I reckon I could have bowled Green out at that stage. Because have a look at him. His feet are barely on the ground. He's like almost toppling over backwards. It's bizarre. And then he gets Smith out with the short ball, which, to be fair, he'd given it a fair whack all day. He was, maybe bound to get one. Like, it's a weird spell of bowling before you look at the fact that he broke 100 today, right? And only bowled 17 overs.
True. I mean, if I break down the wickets, I feel like Head throws it away, but you expected Head to do that anyway. That was his role, that you have to go up there and smash it.
Yeah, but it's very hard to throw it away from that ball. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you throw away... If you look at some of the England the balls that they went out to, the wide ones, you're like, oh, that's a batter should leave it, whatever. No one's leaving Head's ball, is it? It's maybe a technical error. He may have closed the bat face too early, or maybe tried to hit it in the air when he didn't need to. I'm not sure. But you can't give the bowlers any credit for that delivery because it's shit. It's dog shit down the leg side.
Yeah, I'm not giving him credit for that. I will give him credit for the Green delivery. As bad as Green was, there's the double bluff by Cast, right? So I'll give him some points on that, right? And Steve Smith, also, I don't understand. Like, you're batting on 61. You are Steve Smith. Your 100 could bury England in this test match, right? You're well set. I think he was the best batter.
In this
not
series.
even this test match, in the series, true.
I mean, if he makes 100, that's it, right? It's game over for England.
I thought that apart from that little phase in which the ball was hitting Steve Smith's thumb, he was in complete control. Yeah. And to be fair, he was scoring a lot of runs in that region. But you've got 2 fielders behind the bat, right? On the leg side. You've got short, fine leg and the fielder at the deep. So you just lost a wicket, the set batter. Surely you don't go for that shot.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I think he'd gone for most of them all day, hadn't he? So he's probably thinking at that stage it's working. I think he averages 70 playing that shot. I'm pretty sure we put it in the video for the main one today. England, I mean, today England takes 70, right? Maybe that's the way that you look at it. I don't know, but it wasn't ideal. It was, you look at all of those shots, and what's the other one? Oh, the Marnus shot as well, where you're on a day when literally England are bowling you as much shit as as they can physically cart onto the field, right? Why do you try and force away the normal delivery, right? Like, are you afraid they're not going to bowl you another short, wide one, Marnus? You think this is the last one? I mean, So Australia played a huge part. I mean, forget the double digits. You've got the attacking of Green and Smith, and you've got 4 wickets that realistically were much more about the batters than they were about the bowlers. Even if you give Cast some credit for the Smith and the Green one, it's like, yeah, well, I mean, you can bowl Green if he tells you 4 minutes early he's going to be. I stopped it right in the bit where he was going to bowl. He was already like a step and a half back by that point. He went so early. So yeah, it was a fucking weird day. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It was a very weird day.
I guess I'll say that Bryden Cast's bowling today was only slightly arsey, and that's how he gets his wickets as well, and he goes for plenty. But again, England didn't have much to write home about with respect to their bowling, and they're going to tire out. I have a feeling that they're going to kind of get injured over here as well, because Will Jacks bowls a solitary over, and then it's just the other 4 seamers. Anyway. Let's continue this conversation after a short break. You guys are watching Third Innings with Jarrod and Behram, and we will be back in like half a minute, so go nowhere.
Cricket boards actually make watching their games almost impossible. I spend almost as much time trying to find where I can view it as I do actually following the action. That is why I use NordVPN. They let me find all the cricket I want to watch while protecting me from the nasty side of the internet. Nord will free your cricket matches. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/good areas to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months on top. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Watch every match with NordVPN.
Welcome back to Third Innings Live. You guys are with Jarrod and Behram. And before we move on to other talking points, we've got some fun stuff from Rushline over here. What do you have for us, Jarrod?
That's a good question. I've now forgotten what I asked for. So one of the things I thought was interesting is that I know there's the stat has been going around that if you win at the first, if you score 300 in the first innings in a day-night test, you've never lost. I'm that. Obviously, in some cases, you could argue if you score 300 in a day-night test, you shouldn't lose because half of them have been those kinds of games, and the other ones have been like 500 plays 600, right? So they are very different kinds of games. But it is interesting at the Gabba. I think it's 3 of the last 5. Rushline is saying here that the team batting second has won. So I think, and one of those is probably Australia losing to the West Indies. So, there is a bit of recent form at the Gabba of teams batting second and doing okay, because Australia probably should have won that game as well. So I thought that was interesting. They had Cameron Green for plus 24 runs. Cameron Green, by the way, he looked really good today. He should have made a lot more runs than he did. They had Smith for plus 50 runs as well. What I find interesting about Smith, of course, here is that I put a video up the other day saying that that Smith wasn't a very good player against the pink ball, and an Australian fan sent me an email going, "This is the biggest nonsense I've ever heard of," blah, blah, blah. And then I said, Smith said it. So I think it's interesting that he went out of his way, Behram, to work out how to make runs against the pink ball. But he loves batting at the Gabba. And I wonder if more of the pink ball games weren't at the Gabba, maybe we would have seen him, be a little bit better. But again, Rushline got that one right there as well.
Yeah, that's plausible for sure. I feel like Smith and Green could have really run England to the ground, but Rushline gets those 2 correct. Although the batting second thing, I feel like perhaps what the conclusion that you could draw over there is that maybe the toss doesn't matter as much as at the Gabba these days.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're all on crack watch, which of course is. When I say it out loud, I realize what I've just said. It's like an episode of The Wire now, isn't it? Or it could be a worse kind of crack. I don't know which crack you were particularly thinking of there, Behram. But yeah, I think the cracks are there. It's probably, we're only going to see the cracks towards day 4 and day 5 anyway. And the way these 2 teams are racing towards giving away wickets, it's hard to get that deep in the game. If this was a normal game, England probably took more time out of the game when they batted first. And Australia, maybe Australia would be at a similar position now, but half a day further advanced in the game, right? And if that's the case, I think the cracks play a bigger part. But because we're speeding everything up so much, I'm not sure. Rushline has Australia's an 81% chance of winning from here. It's quite evenly poised. So obviously there's something in the AI that's suggesting that Australia gets home pretty easily from here. But interesting that they have them at 81%. There were times today when the betting market completely lost interest in England as well. So, there's obviously a lot of smart money and smart thinking going into that sort of stuff as well.
I'm fascinated by how draw has gone down to 8% because you're getting like 75 overs at best each day, which means that we've got, 225 overs remaining in this game.
But probably that is, if you think about the speed at which both teams are batting, that might be, they could both bat it twice more. So you're right. I think, weirdly enough, the amount of overs that we've lost probably makes sense. But we've also lost 16 wickets in 2 days, right?
Yeah.
So unless we get rain or something really changes in this game, I think it would be hard to say that that it's going to change from there. But either way, I think it's really fascinating setup. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
He says as he pisses about on his phone. We could take Rushline down now. By the way, Rukshu, if you're there.
Yep.
Okay. Before the series, did you think England were the better batting side?
Yes.
Right.
I did.
So I think there was some arguing a little bit in that we hadn't seen all the guys play in Australia, and Stokes wasn't in his best form. Obviously, there's the Crope, the Crawley Pope. Is it Crope or Crop?
Pocket?
No, not Pocket, because that would be Duckett.
Pocket. Yeah, that would be Duckett.
Yeah, it has to be Pope
Polly?
and Crawley.
Pope?
Anyway,
No.
put it in the comments if you can come up with something better than whatever the hell. We're just making noises at this point. Our words have ceased to exist.
Crop. Let's go with crop.
The crop issue, right? But right now, with Australia fixing their openers and Marnus back in form, Australia looks like a much better batting lineup suddenly. Today's maybe not the best example of that because of the gifting the wickets away. But right at the moment, they've flipped the script on that, right? Especially considering that Hazelwood and Cummins haven't played a test yet. They are out-batting England quite comfortably, I would say.
It's quite fascinating to me because, we always talk about pink ball Starc and he does his bit, takes 6 for 75 and he's taking his wickets, 87 wickets at less than 17 apiece. But I had never thought of pink ball Marnus ever before. This is like, recent for me during this test is when, or when we previewed this test is when I first thought about it. Back-to-back 50s
because I have not stopped mentioning it.
Yeah, back-to-back 50s for him now in this Ashes series. One was better than run a ball, the previous one. And I was really, really intrigued by how in 16 innings versus the pink ball, he's got 9 50-plus scores, including 4 tons. And he's become the first player to score 1,000-plus runs in day-night test cricket. So he's averaging nearly 64 as well and scores 65 today. So pretty much on the button, right? How do you explain this, right? Like, what is Marnus doing better than the rest that he is so successful in day-night tests?
This is not a great answer, but I think he picks the pink ball up better than other people. Like, I whatever reason. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but years ago, I had to buy a bunch of cricket balls for something. And so I bought white balls and pink balls and red balls, obviously, because I think it was just the beginning of pink balls. And I went to the nets to do something with them, like a project with them. And I'd never played with a pink ball before. Like, it was pretty new at that stage. And I was like, oh my God, I would be so much better if the ball was pink, right? I don't pick the white one up very well at all. And red, I'm bit patchy on red. The pink ball, I felt like it was like twice the size of the other two. I don't know what it is about, maybe the way my eyes work or whatever, but I just felt like it was really, really easy. Specifically, Behram, as it got darker, I found the pink ball even easier than the other two, right? So maybe there is an element of that with Marnus. He's the first player ever to score 1,000 runs in day-night test cricket, and I think Smith and Head, Head hasn't played as much probably, but Smith's a long way behind Marnus, right? And he's played a lot of pink ball cricket. I think he's at about 850, 860, I want to say. So there's something there that might have something to do with it. It does, maybe it doesn't move as consistently. Maybe, he's a top order player. The lateral movement is not quite the same as a red ball. So maybe there's an element of that too, but I'm stretching a little bit because I don't know. I don't know if Marnus could explain it, but it looks like to me just from the moment he came out, I was just like, oh, he's picking it up well. And then I was like, is it the pink ball or is he just picking it up well? And I don't know, Behram. I don't know.
Versus the red ball, he's batted in 91 innings and scored 7 tons. in 16 innings, he's got 4 tons in day-night tests.
What's
So it
what's
is
his
really
average against the red ball? Do you know?
43 point something. So it's not bad. I mean, of course, Marnus started his career, brilliantly, but he has dropped off. But maybe this is the Ashes series where he rejuvenates his career, beats
He
Barbara
gave
into
up.
it.
He gave up 180 today, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that ball was far too close to cut, right? Essentially. But he looked pretty good too. For me, Smith was the best batter still because I felt like he looked to be in complete control at times, and I thought a big one's coming today, and that didn't. He got out for 61 and got bounced out. But talk to me about Jake Weatherall. So we've spoken about him a lot, obviously, in the build up to the Ashes because he was the opener select, right? And Australian openers don't really score many runs these days unless Travis Head is batting out of position. Maiden Test half century, gets there in 45 balls. Loves to cut the ball or throw his hands at widths, right? That's the one thing I noticed about him. 72 of 78, maybe they should have given Jofra in a more extended spell against him because he does struggle versus his pace and the fuller length delivery, especially today, like kind of just gets him, right? But quite impressive, and that's definitely, a step in the right direction for Australia.
Yes. I think we have to caveat everything I'm about to say with, I don't know what England's... England got rid of a bunch of their analysts. Of recent times.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And I looked at today and I was like, have they replaced them? Who's the analyst here? Because I did a bit of research on Weatherall, nothing compared to what they have. I had a little bit of a look on MV Play, and I went through and I found a couple of highlights of hundreds over the last couple of years. Because I know about him as a T20 player, but I wanted to see if it was a similar pattern in first-class cricket and everything. And it was pretty similar to my old notes on him from years ago. I just think he's a better version of probably when I first did analysis on him. But he essentially wants to hit square, right? Yeah. So he cuts, he drives quite square. So a sort of, I don't know, almost a Kumar Sangakkara, Justin Langer type driver as a left-hander. Yeah. And he plays the pull shot, right? If that's where you want to score, I think if I'm the opposition, I'm like, I want to bowl at your stumps then. I want to keep your stumps in play. And I haven't done a deep dive to see whether he gets out LBW or bowled more. But at the very least, once you get away, I want to just start bowling at your stumps. And so that's the next test.
Perhaps even from over the wicket, make him flick it, right?
Yeah. Either way, just keep it straight. There are some players who score square, right? And you don't want to bowl at their stumps, like, a Muhammad Azharuddin or a Sachin Tendulkar, Mark Waugh type guys. You don't want to get too straight to them because they'll just whip it away, right? But he doesn't seem to really have that shot all that much. And even then, make him do that off a length, right? As long as you don't over pitch, it's hard for him to drive square on the offside when it's very straight to the stumps. So I would have thought that would have been maybe not plan A, because maybe with Atkinson why is Atkinson bowling so short in this series? Like, I thought he was better when he bowled the ball up, and it's like England have told him to bowl short. So this could just be a plan. They just feel like they want to bowl short and wide, right?
And where's the scrambled seam delivery? Like, that's what his claim to fame was in Test
Well, he's
cricket.
scrambling it. It's just not getting any seam movement.
Fair enough.
Bowled 16 times out of 115 versus pace in the Shield, 78 times out caught. So it's not a huge percentage there, but I'm not really talking about whether you get him bowled, and obviously Varun LBW would be the other one there to see what the percentages are. But I'm more saying that once he gets away, why do you keep bowling to where he's scoring runs? And the fact that it took them the lunch break to work that out is really quite, it's interesting, fascinating. I don't even know how I would put it, but it was confusing to me that they thought 37. Now he has to tell us if that's more or less than a normal top order player, so we can actually understand the context of it.
Tell me, how many runs did Weatherall score square of the wicket on the offside? Because it seemed
all
like
of the runs, Behram.
Yeah,
he made 80 runs square of the wicket and behind, even though he didn't make 80. That's how many runs
he can even uppercut the ball, so he's really strong in that area. Why not just bowl full to him? But credit to Weatherall, gets his maiden half century.
I think he knows his game really well. I think it was Matt Pryor on the feed that I was watching was talking about how you can see how he's set up for the back foot play. I still like the way he does come forward. I'm not saying he's weak on the front foot. I'm just saying it's not. I think he is set up to play square of the wicket on both sides, and so just get it a little bit fuller and make that harder.
He's interesting in the sense that he is a predominantly back foot player, but he's not particularly punchy like most Australian batters, right? Like, what's up with that? He is, like, not very Australian in his shot making. Even the cut shots are weird.
Yeah. Do you know his backstory? Do you know what happened during lockdown?
No.
It's really fascinating. I was kind of waiting for him to make 100. I mean, some people know this. I actually, I reached out to a friend to try and get him on Red Inker, and then I forgot to follow it up. But during COVID, this is why I really respect players like him, and him specifically. But he basically went, what am I doing wrong in cricket? Like, I think he got to 26, 27 by that stage, or whatever it was, 25, 26. And he had a decent career. And he'd done some good opening for the Sixers in the in the Big Bash, but his overall career was a little bit disappointing. And he was like, I know what I need to do. I need to start planning my day as a cricketer as if I have 8 hours a day to get better as a cricketer. Which sounds like a normal thing to do, but it's not how cricketers think, right? They go to 3-hour training sessions and then they rest for the rest of the day rather than look at footage or talk to people about techniques or stats or mental stuff, whatever. The old Nathan Lehman line, a test cricketer, if you give them an hour-long meeting, will think that's their work for the day, right? Like, just because they've never had a normal structure the way that we have a normal structure. Net sessions are 2.5 to 3 hours, right? And that's what they do. And then they go back to their hotel room and they play video games, right? Or they go out and play golf, right? So I get it. But Weatherall basically said, how do I make myself a better cricketer? By using the full 8 hours of the day. And we've seen a huge improvement of him then. So it'd be interesting to know what kind of players he looked at. He looks to me like a slightly more attacking... he looks to me like sort of like a stronger version of Chris Rogers. But Rogers was a much better driver. A much straighter driver, maybe is the better way of putting it. But there's a bit of Chris Rogers in his game in that he's waiting for you to basically bowl, a back foot sort of delivery that he can just handle. But he can, but in Rogers' case, he was obviously maybe a little bit better and a lot more experienced. His ability to get on the front foot as well when he needed to was different. But yeah, there's a bit of Chris Rogers. And Chris Rogers wasn't a traditionally Australian kind of batter either, was he?
I suppose time will only tell if Jake Weatherall can transform himself into all-weather Jake. Anyway, we've got a fair few super chats, Jarrod. I think we should start now. Yeah. Aditya with the first one asks, if England get the Aussies out quickly tomorrow, does that give them the advantage given they face the new ball and soften it up before twilight? In theory, yes. But let's suppose Australia score another 50 runs. They'll have a lead close to 100. And England, even if they score 320, I mean, Australia will be chasing something in the early 200s. And unless those cracks really open up, that's not going to be particularly tough work versus tired seamers, especially Jofra and Stokesy and Gas and all those guys.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because there's 7 overs to the new ball, right? So let's say they score 24 runs off the new ball. What's their lead at the moment? Am I testing you?
44. Oh,
44.
I'm great with this. I've been called Mike Ross by ex-girlfriends. 68. That's the number you're looking at.
So they'll be 68 in front by, let's say, around halfway to drink. So about half an hour, 40 minutes in, however you want to look at it, right? Let's say they're 68 in front. It's the next bit that's interesting, right? Because when the new ball comes, does Australia defend and try and take as much time out of the game, hoping that they can still eke out another, let's say the next 10 overs, they make another 30 runs. That means they've taken 17 overs out of the day, plus 2 extra overs for the change. So that's 19 overs out, and they're 98 in front, right? Or
so now you've
do
got
they go,
50 overs
fuck
to
it,
bowl,
let's
though.
attack? Do you go for runs or do you go for overs? That's my question to you.
You go for overs, surely. You want to extend the day's play so that you get the evening session.
I would have said that before I saw the way Australia played today, but yes, I'm with you. I think if they can bat 25 overs and get 90 in front, right? It's actually this is going to sound so weird. It's probably better than them batting 12 overs and getting 120 in front, right? Yeah. Having said that, I do think for England, the magic mark is trying to make sure the lead is between 75 and 100. Obviously, you want less than that, but 75 and 100, I think, is manageable because of the cracks. I think if it gets over 100, it might be a little bit trickier. But yeah, I do think overs and time play as big a part here as anything else.
I feel like England would really have to shit the bed if they get all out tomorrow, which is still possible, right? This is still England. But if they can end the day having lost, let's say, 3 to 4 wickets, and they've got a lead of 100 of their own, that does set up this test match really nicely for day 4, because then anything can happen, right?
Yeah, sorry, Varun's just put up an incredible stat here. Have you seen this? 83 attacking shots for Australia this innings. They've averaged 261 playing them. England played 95 and averaged 45. But the drop catches do probably play a big part in that as well. So no, you're right. If England lose 4 wickets, I think it's very tough to only lose 4 wickets if you start batting around lunchtime, even if it's just before or just after. I think it's tough just because you only need 1 wicket for 2 to fall because of the way that, the pink ball often goes. So, yeah.
Andy is up next. He asks, England drag every opponent down to their cricketing IQ level other than this summer where they pulled a Gambhir coach team up to their IQ level. I mean, the fact that Australia gave away an extremely strong position today was very England-esque. I'm with you there, Andy.
It's fascinating, actually, because I think last Ashes, Australia went out of their way to not play the England style, right? I really do think they went, no, we've got a plan and everything. I think everything's up in the air because 3 of their starting 11 are not available to them, right? Yeah. And so they're automatically kind of thinking about this in a very, very different way than they normally would be. And so I think because of that, Australia is not like... Weatherall and Head was not supposed to be the opening partnership. I mean, that's quite obvious, right? It wasn't even the opening partnership the first time Khawaja was injured, let alone, supposed to be all together. And so they're a very different team now than they could have been. And they're playing a more aggressive brand of cricket under Smith than I think they normally do under Cummins, which might also play a part. So again, they've got all these little changes. But I also think that is one of England's great things is it's not about dragging every opponent down to the cricketing IQ level. It's about that they change how Test cricket rhythm is, right? And because they are so didactic with that belief, so Kool-Aidy with that belief, it does mean that it affects you a little bit more. Do you remember the ring? This is a way, way back. It might have been the previous Ashes in England when they had the 9 ring fielders basically for Usman Khawaja, right? Like when they come up with a theory, they go all in on it. And that means you have to change the way you play, right? And that's not like playing a normal cricket side. And so because of that, you change who you are, which is the first win that they have. You now are not playing your normal kind of cricket.
And also, if you think about it, Australia win the previous test chasing down 205 and 28.2 overs. And today, or in this test, they're batting faster than England, right?
Didn't they score like 400 runs in like 57 overs or something over the last 2 innings combined at one stage? It was nuts.
Yep. It is quite nuts. Anyway, next super chat, please. I think, Varun, you're manning it, so just take us through these. We've got Samrat, who asks, is there a reason why players are succumbing so easily to the short ball strategy in recent times? Don't see batters ducking down for a long period of time. Is it just a drop in level of patience? Yeah, guys or batters like to play their shots these days, I suppose, so maybe you're seeing a bit more of that now.
You've got to understand, Samrat, how much more bounces we have in Test cricket now than we've ever had before. Even if you go back and watch extended plays from the West Indies, they weren't bowling anywhere near the amount of bounces that we're seeing at the moment. So there is an element of that. There is also an element of, there was a period, I think, where teams did try and duck and bounce and duck it, but it didn't work particularly well. I think Neil Wagner's success was blocking him or hitting him didn't work, right? And so you're seeing teams now think, well, we might as well try and get the runs. The best way to stop the bounces being bowled at you is, who was it? Who was it? One of the Indian bowlers who got whacked for like 25 runs at the Edgbaston in an over. Was it Prasid Krishna? Maybe an Edgbaston. That's the best way to stop it, is still to score runs really, really quickly. And if you don't do that, not only are you in danger of getting hurt and injured, you might still go out. And we see plenty of players duck and try and get out the way and still do it. It's a very different kind of batting. And this has been the case since Bodyline, right? Like the Australian players in Bodyline weren't all out hooking. They still went out that way. And if you go back and look at old West Indies stuff, people trying to ride it, it's hard to ride those balls. And so I think we're probably now seeing teams go, if you're going to try this, it's we understand that it's risky from our side as well. We're going to go with it. I also think in the last 3 years, so this is not since it started, but in the last 3 years, you probably aren't getting people who play as much first class cricket. And so the getting out the way of a bouncer is probably a harder skill. But when people start to duck it, watch what happens now, Samurai. People come around the wicket. It is very hard to duck balls when the ball is bowled from around the wicket. That is why Mitchell Johnson and Neil Wagner and Bill Vose were so dangerous, because that angle is harder to duck. It's much easier to duck when a right-arm bowler is bowling over the wicket to you than any other time.
That's my question or follow-up to this, is that when that angle is created, like Wagner, left arm quick bowling round the wicket to a right-handed batter, I understand that bouncers get really, really challenging. But some of these dismissals are bouncers outside off, right? Like, that's different.
Yeah, but so what? Okay, so in a perfect world, how would you play them, Behram?
Smith did uppercut one ball for 6.
Right. So then they put the deep backward third back. Now what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that's what Samurai is thinking back to a time when fielding teams didn't do this. The Neil Wagner field, right, which McCullum obviously invents, that field is genius. Because essentially it takes away almost every pocket of this. And it means that every time you play an attacking shot, you're in trouble. And also when you play a defensive shot, you can be in trouble. So if you start to duck or ride the ball, they just bring the guy in from square leg into short leg. And you've still got the problem of getting most of those. And most of the times when you're ducking and weaving and you're caught behind, it's the wicket keeper, right? They also still keep a gully in. So if you spoon the ball up on the offside, it goes on the gully. So there are multiple ways that you can be dismissed from this. So it's very hard to do the sort of Ashwin style of thing. And it's easier for someone like Ashwin to do that because he's not a specialist batter, right? And he's just like, okay, so today I'm just taking the ball on the body. When you're a batter, that's not how you think. You're working your way through an innings. And so it's a very different thing. Having said that, if you look at it, I still think I think batters are averaging more against this tactic than they are against normal bowling. I think if you take out this, and it's hard because it's hard to work out when the fielders are in those positions. But if you look at the pull shots and the hook shot data, it doesn't suggest that players are going out to it more than they were before the Wagner era, right? So if that's the case, then, they're probably weighing that up and going, okay, they might get me out, but I'm probably still due another 30 or 40 runs here. And I'll take that. So it's a tricky one. On top of that, you're set at that point. Very different than when you first come in. So there's lots of different parts. But yeah, this is not your uncle's 1990s short balls. This is so much different with much better fields and much more accuracy. Short balls didn't used to be as accurate as they are now because people practice them.
True. I wonder if Stokesy and Marnus would be more comfortable with the short ball or the nip backer because they keep getting hit in the nuts. Anyway, Vahir Shah with the super chat asks, in an alternate universe, England are 20 for none after 6 overs. What universe? Because
30
for that
30
Australia,
for none, maybe.
oh, so they take their catches is what he means, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I think we said that before. It's probably the head catch is the big different one, Vahir. I'm not sure if the others are as hinge point. I mean, the Carey one might end up being really important. Even the next one could end up being really important. But at the moment, I think the head one was the one where the game could have gone a completely different direction. And it's funny how often in Australia, England seem to fuck those moments up.
Yeah, it's a constant theme.
I mean, it's not funny if you're English. It's probably horrifying if you're English.
Hey, I am from Pakistan. I can relate to dropped catches. So I feel the pain, English fans. Prudvi asks, do you think the pace pandemic contributed to batters becoming more aggressive even in tepid conditions? Make hay while the sun shines type mentality? Absolutely it does. Like, if a ball has gotten your name written on it, you might as well chance your arm a bit.
I won't put the Varun stat up again, but we've looked this up. But 2021 was the slowest scoring year in Test cricket since 2001. And that's because everyone tried to block and they still went out. And I think there were 2 years where they tried that when the wobble ball was really taking over. And then they were like, oh, we can't, right? Well, we actually do need to take chances there. But what that also means is perhaps on days like today, when you are in front, we don't see teams always capitalize on being in front because they're constantly giving chances back to the bowling sides in a way that, I think I said yesterday, England were 180 for 4 and they should have been 150 for 2. Right. And you can make a similar claim with Australia when they were 5 down today. Right. You could have taken 50 runs off them. And they should have still been just 3 down and batting normally. And, but that's not how modern teams play. And Australia's maybe one of the last, outside of Head, maybe one of the last adapters to this, because they really haven't been a very attacking side. And then now even they're starting to flex their muscles. So every team's sort of coming to this.
I'll wait for South Africa to come to this properly, because we saw them bat really attritionally in Asia recently.
Well, Pakistan did it for a while, right? Zimbabwe did it for a little while. Sri Lanka have tried it at times. Like, there's a lot of teams around the world are going for this new method.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan used to bat at 2.5 runs per over. So even if they're batting at 3.5, 4 now, that's a big step up. S1RK992 asks, in an alternative reality, Simon Harmer would be bowling for England at the Gabba. I mean, that could have been this reality.
I wonder if they still don't pick him.
He's a tall guy, high release point. They would have picked him.
No. So you know about the Dan Worrell story, don't you? The Victorian who's been playing in county cricket for years.
I know of him.
Yeah. So Dan Worrell, a lot of people haven't seen him bowl. Dan Worrell is. How he hasn't been successful at the international level, I don't really understand. At his best, he could bowl 90-mile-an-hour outswingers, right? And he's a more skillful bowler than that now. He's been incredible. There was a lot of talk about him trying to play for England, because I think he qualifies for both countries. And obviously, his Australian career is kind of done. And so he's tried to qualify for England. I can tell you behind the scenes that they're just like, we're never going to pick Dan Worrell. I don't care how many wickets he takes. I wonder if there might have been a similar thing with Harmer, is what I'm thinking. Because he would have already played for South Africa by that stage. It's very different than, guys like Marnus and Josh Inglis and, Ben Stokes and these sorts of guys who have dual citizenships. And, we're talking about once you've played for a senior team, swapping over to another senior team, it doesn't happen very often, right? And so, I think a lot of things have to be on your side for that to have happened.
What if Simon Harmer was Irish? Would happen then for sure, wouldn't it?
Would he play for Ireland, do you mean?
I mean, if he was from Ireland, he would have definitely featured for England.
Oh, you mean if he was just Irish, would he have played for England? This is a different generation, isn't it? How old Simon Harmer? Is he about 34, 35?
Yeah, he's not that young. Maybe even 36.
I think with Irish cricket in the if he would have played for England early on, then he would have been playing for England now. But if it was later on, a lot of those guys could have pursued maybe, potentially playing for England and haven't of recent times because they have test status. So, maybe it's on the other side. But, I was going to say Owen Morgan. I don't mean Owen Morgan. Ed Joyce played
Boyd
for England.
Rankin?
And Boyd Rankin. That's a bit more like the Kepler-Wessels story, though, isn't it? So maybe Simon Harmer might have done something like that. I'm not sure. George Dockrell was at one stage thought to be an England player, by the way. And then he got a bit yippy with his bowling and ended up as a batter. And now is he bowling again, I think?
No, I don't think he bowls anymore. He only bats. Okay. And he's bats quite quick as well. That's his USP now. Yeah, anyway.
I thought this was the episode where we talk about George Dockrell. Finally!
Sharon asks, unfortunately, McCullum is also a Gambhir level coach, just hyped up a lot. That's all. The IQ always been down. Lost, never won a serious series against better teams. Lost to Pakistan at home too when they found their mojo. Okay, so Pakistan started heating up the track. Right, they had heaters and fans, pedestal fans, and they basically figured out that England can't play spin. So that's a bit different. But I feel like people often limit baseball to the scoring rates, whereas there's a lot more to it. And there are pros and cons, but you guys forget how poor England were before baseball. That's what it all comes down to.
I think that's the thing that people really do forget a lot. They won a test in India out of nowhere that we didn't really expect. They got a 3-0 result in Pakistan. Was it 3-0 in Pakistan?
The original baseball series.
When Australia couldn't do that. But it goes up and down. They are winning a higher percentage of their games than they did, obviously, beforehand. But because of the way they play, they also lose more games. Limited overs cricket, we haven't really had him in charge. Did they make the finals under McCullum as KKR? I've got a feeling they had a great run one year and made the finals. I don't know if he won a title when he was in charge. I'm sure the fans remember. I'm trying to remember back when he was coach or whatever. I thought they had one really good run with him. Yeah, in 2021, they made the finals. So he's changed Test cricket forever. He changed one-day cricket forever with how he captained New Zealand. He's had some success in the IPL as a coach. He's had success as a player. He actually changes. Not only has he changed the theory behind captaining in Test matches, he's also changed the way that batters bat. He's also changed the way that bowlers set fields. Like, to say that he doesn't have a high IQ, I don't know what more you need to do. He might be one of the most influential cricketers in the history of the game, right? And I don't say that lightly. He might also end up with a shitty coaching record for England. But remember, he still also has Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope in this side, and he's trying to put together a bowling attack, that has, Cass as their third best seamer in this game, or Atkinson as their third best seamer, in Australian conditions where England usually lose anyway. Like, there are reasons for that. But I think the biggest issue is, I wonder if you had McCullum's philosophy with a really good, stringent assistant coach who occasionally just called bullshit. And I think that's a big issue with McCullum, is that there is an element sometimes where he doesn't want to hear anything else. And so he pushes them and pushes them. He's got them into a mind frame that perhaps has worked, but it also doesn't work, right? And I think that would be the issue that I would have from the outside of, maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think, not that it would work, but if you had McCullum as your inspirational leader, and Andy Flower or Gary Kirsten, or I'm trying to think of some other guys.
Andy Flower would not let them play all that golf and drink those whiskeys and smoke those cigars.
No, but
he wouldn't let that happen.
But this would be a perfect example of, this is why you mix and match better, right?
Yeah.
You don't need Brendan McCullum and David Saker involved in the same team because they've got the same ethos, right? What you actually want is Mickey Arthur and Brendan McCullum, for Mickey Arthur to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just so you know, we haven't done any fielding practice in a week because you keep calling them off. If we drop catches, that's on you, right? And I feel at times with England, that's the thing that they have missed, right? And I'm not in that setup. This is all, I mean, I know a lot of guys in and around that setup, and certainly a lot of people who talk to people there daily, but that has always what it has looked like from the outside to me. This inability, really, to be like, to take the best things out of baseball and also be like, as I said before, the Kool-Aid side of it. The Kool-Aid side of it is what hasn't worked. The fact that I just reeled off 5 other teams in the world who have copied this style tells you that it works, right? And that's the other problem with modern sport. You get a team who comes up with a strategy, right? Like the Houston Rockets come up with the 3-point strategy, but it's Boston who win the championship with it, right? Strategies used to stay with teams forever, and it used to take forever for everyone else to catch up. Now, it's like, oh, that's quite good. We can use that, right? And they use it almost instantly. And that's a huge difference, I think, that we are seeing in modern sport, not just in modern cricket.
The one thing perhaps where you have a point, Sharon, is that McCullum and Stokes are playing Will Jackson and the Nitish Kumar Reddy role. So that I'll give to you. Yeah.
Where's the left-handers? We need more left-handers.
All right. Vaishak says, Test today was old Undertaker versus Goldberg botch fest. See, we both don't watch the WWE, so we won't get that reference, but I'm sure you're right.
I'm sure it's a brilliant reference, and we both agree, or we disagree.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, Varun. We've got Andy, once again, who asks, how has the SA20 changed cricket in that country? It is a well-administered league and a big success story that entrenched itself in their culture. Money.
Money's a big one. Also, they were, I don't think people understand how poorly run Cricket South Africa has been for a very long time. Just really, really poor governance for a very, very long time. And I think that money coming in, a bit of structure. The other thing is, this is before the SA20. South African crowds are incredible and they really get behind things as events. And I just think they didn't have the events made for them. This is an event and they get behind it and it looks good on TV, which, I mean, there are a lot of other T20 leagues in the world that do not look good on TV, right? Let's just be clear and honest with that. This one looks good on TV, which means that it's got a vibe to it that a lot of other series don't have. But yeah, money and structure. They just needed some structure to their cricket. Unfortunately, their cricket has been run pretty poorly pretty much forever, but certainly since readmission. But before readmission, it was run pretty poorly as well.
Yeah, plus there's always been a T20 cricket culture in South Africa, right? Like the hard hats and all that stuff. So now that gets a better platform and people.
I don't know how
enjoy.
many people know this, but a lot of modern limited overs cricket was invented in South Africa during apartheid. Partly because they weren't wedded to the cricket laws, right? Because they weren't part of cricket at that point. I think the fielding ring is one. The power play is another. There's about 2 or 3. Packer basically took them and made them popular, and Packer added to them. I think the white ball and day night and I think and a few of those things. But I think if you go back, there's at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 that South Africa had. So when Behram says it was a culture, it's been a culture for a long time there, that sort of stuff. So they probably just needed an event to match their enthusiasm, which they hadn't really had before.
True. All right. I think there's one more super chat, Varun. It might be Samit, because we've taken Aditya's. Yes, I found it. 12 sessions, 45 wickets, and only 1 taken by an English-born. That too, English running out Stokes.
That's a
what
good
a
gag.
curious,
I'll give him
fun
that
little
one.
ashes. Yeah, 2025 Cook. That is phenomenal, right? Because
But I was saying this the other day though. Like I think it is funny that whole thing. But it was funny like years ago. But if you say to an Australian that Inglis or Khawaja or Marnus are not Australian, Australians get really, really angry. Right, and yet they do. Maybe it's just fun to pick on England. I don't know, but look, it's if you're the colonizer, a lot of people are going to come home. Also, English cricket has a lot of money, like domestically, so a lot of these players end up there. But yeah, also like not only that, let's take this a step further. Only one wicket taken by an English-born bowler. An English-born player, and that was a wicket-keeper.
Yeah. Also, this will remain true up until Gus Atkinson finally strikes with the ball.
Okay, do you think Gus Atkinson's been that bad? He hasn't been like no wickets in 3 innings bad, has he?
Yeah, but I mean, he's not been the best in the world either.
No,
but
he's not. This is one of the issues I had with him. I don't know what every podcast ends up talking about him, but my major issue is that he doesn't get a lot of lateral movement, right? And so on pitches where there is more lateral movement, and the last 3 games in this series could be on those kinds of wickets. Certainly the last 2. I think he'll still be a really good bowler. He may not be getting picked by that point because he hasn't taken a wicket, but he's a bit like an Ajanta Mendes type guy. Like I know it's a weird pull, but Ajanta Mendes' big thing was he actually needed more assistance off the pitch because he didn't actually deviate it that much. Right. And I think Atkinson is similar. Compare him to Scott Boland, who, when Scott Boland gets a ball to seam, it moves about 1.5 feet, right? Atkinson very rarely gets that kind of, Mohammad Siraj, Scott Boland type of seam. He gets like little bits. And so if the pitch isn't doing much, he gets less of the little bits. And I think that's a big issue that Atkinson has. I also think that England have him bowling too short. And that's obviously a team-wide plan because, my God, they have certainly shown us that over the last 3 innings that they have bowled. But I don't think it suits his bowling.
Okay, we've gotten a couple more super chats.
Sorry, did I do that to you? Is that my fault?
No, I mean, it's good
Behram
for us.
was on his way out, and then they pull him back in.
More money for us, right? Jack asks, how do umpires prepare for bouncy tracks or tracks with low bounce? Do they use Hawkeye data? If they do, how did earlier umpires prepare for that? I have no idea on that one.
I thought you might know this one.
No.
Umpires net.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. If you go, especially the couple of days before a test match, umpires will be in the nets and they'll be trying to read what the conditions do. Obviously, some nets don't match the main wicket, but essentially that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to work out what the pitches do in this location. They're also getting their eye in. It's very hard to umpire cold, right? Like, obviously, if you've done it like a million times, like a very, very experienced umpire, you can switch it on quite quickly. But for the younger guys, the 30, 35-year-olds, maybe the guys who came out of professional cricket, it takes a while to remember where you need to look and what you're looking for. But yeah, they net. It's pretty common. I think it's something after Simon Torfel got involved with the ICC, it's become a lot more common because I think it was something that he pushed. But yeah, if you go, you'll always see the umpires at one stage or another. And it's good too because they build relationships with the players, so they know the players a lot better because that's a much more casual place to be hanging out with them rather than in the thing. But yeah, that's what they do. I don't believe they use data. But there might be a couple of umpires now who might look at data.
That is fascinating. I wonder what they did for the New York pitch because there were no nets over there either, to my knowledge.
So what they did for New York is they said this game should be called off, and then the ICC wouldn't allow it. Now I'm only joking. I don't know if that's true. I mean, if I was umpiring, I would have said This is a no this wicket.
You see these videos circulate on social media time after again. Oh, this surface was so dangerous that they called off the test match. And I watch those videos and I'm thinking to myself, doesn't look as bad as New York. Anyway. We've got one last super chat, but Noel Korath has not asked us a question, so thank you, Noel.
Just wait to see. I'll just see if it came up separately.
I cannot find it in the actual chat either. Or maybe he sent it
God, how many comments did we get today? Thank you, everyone. I'm trying to click on the new comment button to actually get us towards the end. Noel says, no, you're right. Just a super chat. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Noel. And that's a wrap for today's third innings. Just a quick reminder for all of you. You can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage. That can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of our team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. And all of our shows on the Good Areas Network are powered by our supporters on Patreon. You can become one of them by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast. That way you can enjoy ad-free content, you can talk to us exclusively, and you can give us podcast recommendations as well. We'll be back tomorrow once again on Third Innings Live after Stumps. Till then, you guys have a good one. Take care and goodbye. Someone's got to end the show.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.